I will say that this fanfic, Frozen Turtles, is by far the biggest migraine I have ever read on this web series. And I feel like I've read quite a few migraines. But no, this one definitely takes the cake. And it's not because it's necessarily a bad story per se. It's just so bleeding long. So unnecessarily long. And it's so much exposition after exposition after exposition. And I'm getting ahead of myself. Right then. Today's fanfic, Frozen Turtles. This is a crossover fanfic. A crossover between the 2012 TMNT cartoon and Disney's Frozen. Hence the reason why it's called Frozen Turtles. And this isn't the only Frozen Turtles fanfic. This author wrote quite a few of them. 3 big stories from what I've gathered from their profile, and then a few smaller stories. The smallest stories being only like, maybe thousands of words, and not like hundreds of thousands of words like, the bigger stories. Yes. Right. So, this story is rated T. It's in English. It's adventure friendship. Has 37 chapters and 142,443 words. 797 reviews, 328 faves, and 183 follows. This story was created back in July of 2014 and was finished in February of 2016. And yes, it is complete, but like I said before, there are sequels and miniature sequels. And no, I am not reading any of them. This was enough, thank you very much. It took me so bloody long to read this story, I almost quit a few times through. Yes. So let's see if I can do a very simple summarization of what goes on in this story, just so you get an idea of how simple it is. So, New York City. The turtles are interfering with the Krang. They steal an important device from the Krang. They escape from the Krang and somehow teleport with said device to the frozen universe where Arendelle is. They sneak into the city, disguised in robes. They notice Anna and Elsa and figure out that they are royalty. They go and they save a man from being mugged by people that want protection money. Elsa and Anna notice this. Elsa is drawn to one of the cloaked figures. Oh gee, I wonder who. Later on, they sneak into the castle, and they manage to prevent an assassination attempt on Elsa. That's when they are revealed as the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. While everyone else is freaked out by their appearance, Anna and Elsa are okay with it, and Elsa is very drawn to Leonardo, and Leonardo is very drawn to Elsa. And spoiler alert, it's implied at the end of the story that they are in love with each other. I mean, I guess it's not that bad, but still, very predictable. So, the turtles just decide to stay with, the royalty. They're called the Royalty Sisters in this story, by the way. Very weird. And there's another assassination attempt on Elsa. The turtles once again prevent it, and they later on find out who's behind the assassination attempt. The Duke of Weselton and Hans. It was rather confusing, because when the turtles first show up in the Arendelle universe, it's implied that it's happening right at the start of the first movie, or right after Elsa freezes everything, because they show up at that lodge where the summer blowout sale's going on. But then when it fast forwards to where we see Anna and Elsa, it's summertime and everything's normal. Makes no bloody sense. But I digress. So, the turtles come up with a plan to thwart the Duke of Weselton and Hans. They disguise themselves as the assassins who try to assassinate Elsa, and they sneak into the Duke's lair and where Hans is, and they reveal themselves, and there's this big standoff, and the two of them get captured, the Duke of Weselton and Hans, and they get thrown in jail. And then it's happily ever after. But then it's not. The story keeps going. Now we're back in New York City. And it seems like Splinter and Karai have just been farting around for a few days and like, hey, it's a little worrisome that the boys are not home yet. I reckon we should go look for them, shouldn't we? And so they finally go and look for them. And they happen to stumble across the Krang and the Foot. And they find out that the Krang is using a special device to travel to another dimension. So they follow the Krang into this device. And lo and behold, they're in Arendelle. And Splinter and Karai realize that this is probably where the turtles are. So, now the Krang are attacking the city. Well, none of the townsfolk are afraid of the turtles anymore because of how they handled the Duke of Wesselton and Hans, the now known as folk heroes. So the turtles come and they get rid of the Krang and they reunite with Splinter and Karai. And everything seems to be all happily ever after. But then it's not. Then we go back to New York and somehow Hans follows the foot soldiers who were retreating back into the mountain, or retreating back to the portal so they could report back to the Shredder because they were with the Krang. He sneaks back with them and reveals himself to the Shredder and pretty much tells the Shredder about Elsa. And now the Shredder wants Elsa. So now it's not just the Krang that's invading Arendelle. It's now the Foot as well. The Shredder isn't coming along quite yet, but he will be. And so they now have to deal with the Foot being in Arendelle. And the Turtles and Splinter are afraid that Oroku Saki is going to make an appearance, and he does. So when Oroku Saki does show up, he allows Hans to give his own plan on how to get Elsa. So he says that they should separate the Turtles from Elsa. And even though... So here's the thing. The group... The Turtles, Elsa, and the rest, they all decide to leave Arendelle, to protect the kingdom in case Shredder does show up. So they go and hide in Elsa's castle that she made in the first Frozen film. And even the Turtles point out that maybe Shredder might know about this because Shredder somehow knows about her. And Elsa's like, oh, you're right. Do they leave, though? No, they don't. And then they stupidly fall for the Shredder's, well, more like Hans' plan. So the Turtles go and protect Arendelle because Arendelle's being attacked by the Shredder's Goonies. And meanwhile, Tiger Claw is going after Anna and Elsa, and they manage to capture Elsa. They leave Anna alone, but they capture Elsa. So the Turtles have to now go back to their own reality because that's where they took Anna, or Elsa. Elsa's the magical... Yes, Elsa's the magical one. They have to go and rescue her. And the Shredder is revealing himself to be super, super cruel and stuff. He has, like, Elsa, and he plans on breaking her will and making her his mindless slave and whatnot. So they go on this rescue mission, the Turtles, and they want Anna to stay behind, but Anna follows them anyway. And then they're like, okay, but stay with us, and then she doesn't. So she goes to try to save Elsa, and then she gets trapped in the same room with Elsa, and then it's implied that the Shredder is going to behead Anna because Elsa's not going to do what he wants him to do, so then she agrees to be his slave. But in the nick of time, the Turtles show up and they thwart the Shredder, and all seems all hunky-dory and everything's all fine. And it's like, no, it's not. Because the story just keeps on going. So now, the Shredder's like, I'm just going to destroy Arendelle to give her no home to return to. And then the story ends with, like, this big, huge face-off with all the characters and whatnot. The Shredder manages to knock Anna unconscious, tears Olaf apart, knocks Kristoff off, and then he chases after Elsa, and he gets her to a point of sheer rage, where she just loses control of her anger, and she's being very brutal with him. But the power of love from Leonardo and Anna stop Elsa from, killing the Shredder. And then the Shredder's like, you had your chance to kill me, but now that you showed your weakness, I'm going to take you down. And then he ends up getting taken down because they do like this power, friendship, love, takedown thing of him. And that's pretty much how the story ends. And I know I skipped a lot of stuff, and that was probably a really bad summarization, but you got to keep in mind, I just now finished this bloody story, and my mind's still a bit of a jumble. But yes, still pretty simplistic to summarize for the most part. And I can tell you right now, this story should not have had a word count that was this large. Because a lot of the story just felt like a lot of it could have been ended so much sooner if it wasn't for the constant exposition dump, exposition dump, exposition dump. And then sometimes chapters would repeat stuff from other chapters. Like the later chapters would repeat a bit of like the last paragraph of the previous chapter. And it's like, I just read this. Why are you making me read this again? Is this a flashback? Can you not? Why is this here? It was, I don't know what. I mean, this was this author's first story. And they have written other stories aside from these Frozen Turtles fanfics. And their most recent story was written back in January of 2022, so not that long ago. So they haven't written anything this year at all. But, you know, they have written quite a few stories. What was it, like 27 stories. So that's not bad. I mean, I'm sure their writing style does get better. Maybe their stories don't feel as dragged out. But it wasn't just like the dragging out of the story that was a problem. There was a lot of silly typos. Like, for the most part, the spelling and grammar wasn't bad, but then there was just silly typos. Like saying pooping instead of popping, or whipping instead of wiping. And saying we're instead of where. It's like, this is why you need to proofread your work. And I know that sometimes typos get missed. It happens, but this was just so ridiculous. And then, like, even before each chapter starts, it's like this little stupid dialogue between, like, the author and random fictional characters. And they do it at the beginning and the end of each chapter. And it's like, can you not? Can you not? And I really hope they don't do that in their more current stories. And now I'm curious. Let's see. Let's click on the most recent story and see if they still do the weird author's note thing. No, it's just a generic, all bold author's note. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Don't mind my face. I saw the word count of the random story that I clicked on. But yes, I digress. I mean, it's not like a million words, but still quite a hefty number. Over 250,000 words for that one. So yes, there was that. Another issue with the story mainly was the Frozen characters. Like, they're rather daft in the beginning. Like, there's this bit where the brothers, the turtles, are all spying in the courtyard, and Anna sees that they're fighting and she thinks they're actually fighting, so she's trying to get Kristoff and Elsa to interfere, and the brothers have to explain to them that they're sparring. And it's like, don't their soldiers drill? You would think if they see that their soldiers are drilling and that they're practicing against each other, that doesn't mean they're fighting each other. I don't know. It was stupid moments like that. And the turtles didn't suffer from stupidity either. It's like Michelangelo being all surprised that there's no pizza in Arendelle, even though they just made a comment about the architecture being that of like the 1800s, but the dialect being modern lingo. But it's like, obviously they wouldn't have pizza. It's just like stupid moments like that. And then Anna was such a bloody imbecile in this story. She was such a bloody imbecile. So, during the final rescue mission to save Elsa from the Shredder, the turtles want Anna to stay behind. Both Anna and Kristoff to stay behind because, you know, they're just going to kind of get in the way. And Anna's not a fighter. So she's all like, no, I'm going to come with you. And then she decides to relent. But then she tricks Olaf by playing a game of hide and seek so she can sneak onto the shell raiser and join the turtles with their rescue mission. So they immediately figure out that she was a stowaway. And they finally give in and allow her to tag along. But they're like, keep quiet and stay with us. She doesn't either, and she ends up sneaking off to go save Elsa on her own, and almost gets herself beheaded in the process. That's right, beheaded, because the Shredder was going to behead her to get to Elsa, but thankfully the turtle showed up. But yes, Anna just did so many bloody stupid things in this story. It was just... I mean, I know she was a bit of a silly character in the original Frozen, but she wasn't an idiot. She definitely was not an idiot. I don't know, it was... Like, in the story, it had, like, there was little bits of it that I didn't mind. Like, I didn't mind when they had Karai and Splinter show up. Because, you know, I did like a bit of that backstory. But it just, I just felt like the story just kept going on and on and on, and I'm looking at it, I'm reading it on my phone, I'm like, just get on with it, get on with it. And then you think you're halfway done with the story, and it's like, oh no, I'm only 10 chapters in, and this is 37 chapters. And I'm sorry for the horrendous summarization and stuff, but I could not go back and reread this to take notes. I just couldn't. So, right, if you want to check out this story, like read it for yourself and then read the sequels, I do have the story linked in the description, and you can find his other stories just by clicking on his profile. But the author, once again, is Iron 117 Prime. And like I said before, no, I am not reading the other Frozen Turtle stories. No, thank you. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please be sure to leave a like and leave a comment. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I'd greatly appreciate it. I'll see you all in the next episode. Until then, cheerio.